In the dark side of the jungle, there's a fungus that infects creatures and turns them into zombies. This deadly fungus, known as Cordyceps, has the ability to take out entire species. What if this fungus infected you by touching your skin or just breathing it in? Could the Cordyceps fungus turn you into a zombie? What will it do to your body? And how likely is it that this will happen to you? Here is what will happen if you were infected by the Cordyceps fungus. The Cordyceps fungus works when its spores land on an insect body and take root in its muscles. The spores then control the insect, making it move to a location that's perfect for the fungi to reproduce. The fungus forces the insect to chomp down on a leaf, and it will then stay there until it dies. The parasite will feed off the creature and grow for weeks so it can release more spores and infect more insects. Now, how will this work if it happened to you? If this fungal parasite could jump from insects to humans, it will most likely be an airborne infection. Places like cities, public transportation and tunnels will all be danger zones where you could potentially catch the Cordyceps fungus. It's likely that the fungus will attack your body as any other parasite might. When you first become infected, you will begin to feel some symptoms you've probably felt before. A fever, abdominal pain, weakness, and vomiting are all possible consequences. You might also notice yourself getting depressed, as the Cordyceps could affect your dopamine levels. Some of these effects might be familiar, but what isn't is how the fungus will spread through your body. As time goes on, the fungus will start to take over your nervous system. Since you're a lot bigger than something like an insect, it will take months for the Cordyceps to take full control of you. In rainforests, a war has been raging for millions of years. A war between ant colonies and the different types of fungi that infect them. It's a battle that has led to an arms race of evolution, creating one of the most sinister methods of survival ever discovered. Parasites, in general, need a host animal to reproduce and survive, and ants are a tempting host animal for parasites. Indeed, up to 70% of the individual insects in a rainforest are ants. In theory, this should provide a large pool of potential victims for infectious and parasitic types of fungi. Thus, just like our megacities, ants face a huge risk of disease outbreaks that can potentially wipe out an entire colony. Therefore, ants put up formidable defenses against such invasions. They work together to groom each other clean of pathogens, and if one of their comrades does get infected, it is exiled from the colony. And if a dead ant is discovered by its peers, it's quickly removed, then dumped far away from the colony before the disease can spread. This is also sometimes cruel but effective way to keep disease at bay. But in a spinning wheel of evolution, defenses like this can be outmaneuvered and overcome. And one type of fungus has done this almost unimaginable way. To see evidence of this strategy, you'll need to venture deep into the rainforest. In a place like Thailand, the ant species Camponotus leonardi, a type of carpenter ant, lives in the high canopy of the rainforest and builds an extensive network of aerial trails. They will happily stay up in the treetops. Relative safety, but sometimes their aerial network is imperfect. If gaps between the leaves are too large to cross, the ants are forced to descend to the forest floor, and here is where the zombie fungus strikes. The fungus Cordyceps unilateralis is a highly specialized infectious fungus. When an ant stumbles across one of its spores, the spore attaches to its exoskeleton and eventually breaks through using mechanical pressure and enzymes. And at this point, the fungus starts to take over. Over the course of the next week, infected ants appear perfectly normal and go about their business undetected by the rest of the colony. Then, once the fungus has developed enough inside the ant, it compels the ant to leave the safety of its nest, travel down to the forest floor and climb a small plant stem a few centimeters off the ground. Here, the ant permanently clamps its jaws around the leaf and is completely overtaken by the fungus. Where the ant carries out its death grip is remarkably precise. In one study, every infected ant chomped down on the underside of a leaf, and 98 bit down on the leaf's vein. Almost all of them did this on the north side of the plant, on a leaf exactly 25 centimeters above the ground. The chosen leaves were in an environment with a 94 to 95 humidity and all ended up in a location with temperatures between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius. It is no coincidence that every one of these factors is the optimal condition for the Cordyceps fungus to grow. The zombie ant has transported it to its exact preferred location, meaning the control the fungus exerts over the ant is astoundingly precise. And at this precise location, a long fungus stalk eventually bursts through the ant's head with a bulbous capsule full of spores on the end. and the ant is killed. And because the ant typically clamps down on a leaf in its own colony's territory, the fungal spores rain down onto others and blow, zombifying any it touches. The first zombie ant was documented over 100 years ago, but until recently, scientists had no idea how the Cordyceps fungus could control the ant so precisely. And while there are still many questions, recent research using machine learning is getting us closer to an answer. To get to the bottom of the mind control mystery, scientists wanted to know what part of the ant's body the fungus infects. Surely, they thought the fungus mind control ability will be focused inside the ant's head. So they worked to identify any parts of the ant where the fungus was present. And to their surprise, they found fungal cells not just in the ant's head, but also in the thorax and gaster. And intriguingly, they also found fungal cells in abundance inside the legs. Next, they wanted to see how much of the fungus infects the brain of the ant. Using a laser scanning microscope, they examined the nervous tissue in the head of the infected ants and found something profoundly unexpected. The fungus doesn't touch the ant's brain at all. Fungal cells were concentrated directly outside the brain, but none were observed inside the brain. So how can the fungus control the ant's mind if its actual mind is untouched? Next, they looked closer at the fungus growing in the rest of the ant's body. Here, they found fungal cells present between the muscle fibers in both the head and leg regions. To quantify the amount of fungus in each sequential image scan, they used a deep learning algorithm that could quickly identify fungal cells from ant tissue. Doing this by hand would have taken months, but instead, they got the result in days. Scientists could then start to see that the hypobodies, the yeast-like circular fungal cells, were connected to other hypobodies by short tubes, and that some of these hyphae invade the ant's muscles, penetrating the cell membranes and growing inside. Elsewhere in the fungal world, fungal tubes like this are known to allow for the transfer of chemicals, nutrients, and information. So these connections, the tubes, the penetrating fibers, point to an intricate network inside the ant's body, connecting the fungal cells to each other and to the ant's muscles. All of this suggests that the fungus isn't using mind control to transport its cells where it needs to go, but rather muscle control in a full body takeover. The ant's mind may, in fact, be completely unaffected, meaning it's trapped as a prisoner in its own body, with the fungus in control. Exactly what chemical signals the fungus sends to the ant muscles to cause it to do its bidding is still unknown. However, scientists are working hard to uncover this last mystery of the ant zombie phenomenon. Thank you for watching. If you loved the video, don't forget to subscribe and like the video and comment what you think about.